in which it is kind of nice to be the first climber out is you know exactly when you're going to be on the wall. When you come out later, there's a lot of ambiguity as to when you might be climbing, and that can affect your warm-up quite significantly. Say you have a 2-hour warm-up that you know exactly what you need to do and when you need to do it. You have to be quite adaptable if you're coming out later, because there might be quite significant differences in when you expect it to be climbing to when you're actually climbing. World Championships is a really good example of that, with the wall being so short. The routes were progressing really fast, and I think I arrived with time to spare and didn't even finish my full warm-up before you get out to climb, so you just have to be kind of ready for anything in that regard.
That must really throw you though.
It can, but I think in that instance it did, but I think that's one of the factors of being a really successful World Cup climber, and we were talking about that adaptability before, and the things that you learn on the circuit that you might not necessarily expect. It's not just about what you can do on the wall, it's about being able to make up for anything that might happen off the wall, what the warm-up wall looks like, traveling to the venue, accounting for all the sorts of things that might go wrong and might change. And so you have to know your routine and what gets you ready to perform your best, and then also know how to adapt that to any given situation.
Schranz just a little bit short of that compulsory clip. Members of the Austrian team watching on. Oh, just struggling to readjust, Christine Schranz.
Oh, definitely. I would think so, yeah.
It's just he's showing up as 30. Now it's come through, yeah, 30 plus. We're going to first place on countback. Halfway through the semi-final. Bit of a nervous hour watching the rest of it, but
for sure.
Could be enough.
At least his qualification was fairly good, so that definitely plays a factor, with a few climbers having fallen on 30 plus as well. However, though, if it does come down to count back with lots of climbers still yet to come falling on 30 plus, 14th or whatever the result he came through on might not be enough, but I guess we'll see. 13th, sorry.
Aika Tajima now, the latest woman to try her luck. We're already into the second half of this women's semi-final. We've only been going 58 minutes, and that's included the cleaning break. So it's a tough route.
It's the sort of route I feel like we'll see half the field, you know, coming off really low and then the other half timing out. With 48 moves, and we've only seen 28 of them, there's still so much climbing to go.
Oh, able to chalk up on the key traverse out right. That is impressive. So 28 plus, which is moving off those two holes as the current high point. If she can execute, which she can, that's 29. So Aika Tajima is now setting a new high point. The foot slipped within 4 moves of it. Yanya, meanwhile, the last climber on the wall, needs a 28 plus. So the two blue triangles above and right of the last black volume are 27 and 28. So if she can get established on them and move towards the next hold, she will have secured her place in the final. So that's 28. If she can attempt the next move, let alone stick it, that will be her in the final. And Molly Thompson-Smith moves down to 9th. So Yanya safely into the final. Be great to see someone have a really good look at the top of this women's route. Yanya, to me, looks the strongest of anyone that's been here so far.
It would be absolute insanity, I think, to see a top from here, but if anyone's going to pull that one off, it would have to be Yanya.
It would be insanity, but so would clean sweeping a boulder season and winning 3 World Championships in a week. She's done them this year, so
I guess it wouldn't be the most absurd thing that Janja's pulled off in her career.
well, she's definitely going to go into the final with the high point, we know that, and I have to say, Janja looks like she's got a few moves left in her as well. Going really well here.
It looks like it's only just starting to get hard.
Yeah, out to hole 38. It's only 46 on the route. The score's updating almost in real time, not too far off. Really scrapping now, Janja. That's hole 40. 6 more moves to go. Could we see a top here? She really looked back to her best yesterday in the qualifiers. She looks absolutely immense here in the semi-final. No doubt who the best climber's been so far this weekend in Inzai. Half a dozen moves to go. You can see Janja definitely getting pumped and just falls as yeah, it's a tall climber, Loic, no problem at all with that first move.
Yeah, I think Matthias Posch just really picked the wrong position for that one. We haven't seen anyone really struggle too much there.
Cleaning break almost concluded, by the way, over on the women's route, so Aika Tajima will be able to climb in just a minute or two, I think. Loic got the compulsory clip done, drops back down before he sets himself up for the jump. Made World Cup finals before, Loic. With a couple of climbers missing, it's a good opportunity here, but this men's route is a real test of fitness and route reading. Gets the jump done, no problem. Finds those little scrawn holds that have been added, which, as you say, don't look great, but they're just enough. So there we see women's route cleaned. You can see how much still remains above that from where the rope's been pulled down from. That gives you an idea of how high up the climbers are getting on the wall. 28 plus still the high point on the women's route, and there are 46 holds.
I'm a really big fan of the wall here in Inzai. It's like just different enough from the rest of the season to stand out, but you know, not too all over the place like potentially the wall in Kran or Arco can be. And I like that it adjusts as well. I think that's a really, really interesting factor, that even the wall itself could change between rounds potentially.
That's a good point, actually. I'm going to ask if they've changed it between any of the rounds. I don't think they have, but I could be wrong.
I imagine it's probably a fair amount of effort to change. And I think, like they said in the qualification preview, there is that like perfect balance between height and overhang. And I think this looks like a pretty good setup. But I like that there are some sort of small angle changes throughout the whole wall, rather than just that basic like vert, overhang, vert that we see on some of the other competition venues. And despite being a bit taller, Loic doesn't really seem to be having too much trouble with that knee bar, which is good.
Yeah, we've seen some taller climbers not look very comfy in it. Here he goes, Loic. Holds the swing nicely. Definitely beginning to feel it now, really shaking out more and more. Elbows starting to come out. 30 plus the high point for Loic to try and beat, and that will be another 30 plus. The sixth to last climber out on the men's side, so Sean McCall has booked his place in the final.
I think Sean will be pleased to think that he could start the competition by, again, not clipping the first straw on the route and then see himself through to the final.
Yeah, it's a pretty good story.
I was sitting with Molly Thompson-Smith when he fell, and she was texting Jan Hoyer back home in Germany, and had an agreement that if Sean made the semi-finals, Molly had to buy Jan dinner, and then vice versa. And we were so confident that he wouldn't be able to come back from a 2+, but here he is through to the final now, which is almost unbelievable.
And someone's out of pocket for dinner. I bet he's got some heavy strapping on that right bicep. He's been great to watch this year, hasn't he?
He just never lets go.
And that is a good recipe in league climbing.
You think that he's off, and he's not. His fight on the final in Chamonix was really one of the highlights of the season, I think.
Yeah,
it was over, and then it was he just kept going again and again and again.
He basically fell off for about 10 moves. Just didn't appear to be coming back towards the ground. It was amazing. This is almost certainly him booking a place in the final, by the way. Oh, confident to let the feet go like that. And could we see the first top of the day? Alberto Hines Lopez definitely tired, but fighting as ever. Feet cut loose again. So he got one more move to the top. Can he get it? Is he too pumped to clip? We'll find out in just a second. Oh, he's got himself in a good position. Looks slightly tenuous, but he finds a top. Alberto Hines Lopez, immaculate performance from him. Well. Nobody struggled with this lower section, which is good to see. Just technical, making the climbers think, but nobody falling off. Not what we want. We don't want climbers falling this low down. We want to see them have a good battle with the top section of the route. And this lower section's done its job. It's made them think, taken a bit of energy out of them, tested their technical skills, but everyone so far has got through it. Jane into the triangular volumes. She timed her run in the final last week in Xiamen absolutely perfectly. It looked like she might actually run out of time, but she got it down. I think she was within about 3 seconds when she topped. She was absolutely perfect. She really knows exactly what pace she likes to climb, and she just manages herself to perfection.
Yeah, she always cares about time. Like now, you know, she has a watch on on her harness. But I like her climbing style.
Oh, it's great.
Yeah, it's great.
It's so nice to watch. So that cross through move, and then we'll get the clip done, then head out right, and then she's got herself set up. She's won a couple of Boulder World Cups in the past, so no stranger to dynamic moves, but for sure she would prefer to do things statically and with a little more security, no doubt about that. Chooses to get the clip done. and drops back down and would perhaps take a little bit of a pause just to consider this move before launching into it. Here she goes, Jane Kim. Oh, no problem. I think she maybe even went a little bit too far right. Went with so much conviction. All the climbers looking on. 3:10 left on the clock for Jane. She's about halfway, so as I say, it looks like she's measured the pace pretty well again.
Yeah, in just half of time, 3 minutes.
Just getting towards the end of the traverse, couple more moves. Then she'll come back right. The holds up there beginning to look increasingly familiar. Chance got on to the third to last hole, the first of 3 huge blue volumes right at the top. Jane Kim got a dozen or so moves before she's up to there. It's 37 plus that leads away, 36 plus will get her onto the podium. 34 plus might get her onto the podium depending on how Janja Garnbret goes. Getting herself in position now. This is where the medals will be decided. As I say, if she can catch and pass Akio, she's going to guarantee herself a medal. And it was that red hold at the top of your screen there. That's where Akio was headed to when she fell. So that's for a place on the podium for Jane Kim. Remember, there's no way she can guarantee herself a win here because Janja Garnbret, after such a strong performance in the semi-final, if she comes out and matches Jane's score, even if Jane tops the route, if Janja matches it, Janja will win. So Jane Kim cannot guarantee herself a win, but she definitely can guarantee herself a podium. Bosch is up with the right hand, so strong, up to 35.
Just 2 moves to get first place.
That's a place on the podium for Jane Kim. Now if she can stick the next move, she'll move into first place. She can stick the next move. This is classic Jane Kim. Timed it really, really well, climbing immaculately. Just trying to figure out how to position herself under this volume. It sticks out more than you think. You've somehow got to find a way around it. Goes up with the right hand, the penultimate hold now. That's hold 40.
She still have enough time to get the top 30 seconds.
And it's an okay hold at the top, but it's not great. Here she goes.
That's amazing.
Oh, Jane Kim just needs to get the rope clipped and she will have topped the route. Immaculate stuff from Jane Kim, another top in her stellar career. It could be enough for the win. Look at the route. Let Sabile know he's on his way. And off he goes.
Hiroto is definitely a climber who's more than capable of taking a win, I think, at a World Cup level. But whether this particular route will suit his style, I'm not so sure. He tends to favor the more endurance-based sort of climbing. So I think if he makes it through the low sections, he could climb quite well through the upper parts of the route. It's just whether or not he can coordinate those movements and that sort of thing. I haven't really seen him bouldering too much in the past, and I know he really favors those routes like we were saying before, where you can it's just a matter of grabbing the next hold and who gets tired first.
Yeah, I'd say he's kind of as close as Japan have got to an out-and-out lead climber.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
He's for sure a specialist. You can see it just in the way that he moves on the wall, the way he approaches climbing. His general rhythm is very characteristic of like classic old school lead climbing. He's got super strong fingers. really precise work through in his shoulders. It's just kind of like a steady progression the whole way up the wall, rather than a set of boulder problems kind of strung together.
It's one of the great things about the sport is the contrasting styles. But yeah, he has. He's got that lovely smooth style. Very efficient. There, the 4 climbers who've already climbed. Sitting on the couch is just off to the left of the wall as we look at it. Plenty of time left, but we said he's a relatively steady climber. If he was looking for a top, I think he probably would need to speed up just a little bit.
Yeah,
more than a third of his time used up.
Yeah, 2 minutes is a long time to have used kind of before where we saw any of the other climbers start resting. I think you get a lot of nice holds in the next few quick draws that it's more wise to shake out on than prior to this jump.
Again, has a little shake. Now, what method will he use here? We saw Timmermans put right hand down, and then we saw Yuki Hara jump out with the feet. He does the same as his compatriot.
Just like perfect. It was like as soon as he decided that he was going to move, everything came together instantly, and I think that's super important with jumps like that. You know, you take the time to be established in your plan and what you want to do, and then you just have to execute, because you only get one go, so you have to put everything into whatever method that you choose.
Less than half of his 6 minutes still left on the clock for Hiroto Shimizu. So he needs to get a little bit of a move on. 28 plus, still the high point to try and beat.
It's certainly enough time to take the high point. Whether he's going to have enough time at his current pace to finish the route, I wouldn't be so sure, but he's climbing well nevertheless.
The crowd are beginning to make a bit of noise now, cheering him on. Getting pretty close now. This would be a new high point if he can latch the next hold.
He really just doesn't look too phased yet. No problems at all.
Smooth as you like. So that's him into first place with a 29, and now from here on out, he's just pushing that high point further and further away from the competition. That's 31. 42 moves in total on this wall.
And he's picked up the pace a little bit. I'd say that he's got more than enough time to finish the route if it comes to it.
Suddenly just cheeks beginning to puff out a little bit to convey just how hard he's trying. Again, head rocked back with the effort of making that move work. 1:10 left on the clock. He's really stepped up the pace here, and he's had to as well. He's getting tired. He's running out of time. He's got a minute left. Tried to go out with the right hand to the third of those dual texture holes and couldn't quite stick it, but he will.